What up, what up? It's Ace OG, back with another topic, back with another video. So the title of this video is going to be tips on how to stay married. So admin notes, thanks again to all subscribe to the channel. I endeavor to keep pushing the video out, keep leverage, the better yourselves. So this weekend, I attended a African wedding with my wife to see one of our sisters in Christ get married, right? Now, this sister that I'm talking about, I've known this sister since she was in high school. I want to say she's 25 now, and she's originally from Africa, where her parents are, right? But she was born and raised in the States, and her husband now is of African descent as well. So we got two African families that came together and created this huge wedding ceremony for them. And I'm telling you, I never attended a African wedding before, and when I tell you Africans can go, I mean that wedding was straight lit. I'm not even gonna front. Yeah, it was like one of the best weddings I ever attended, like hands down, right? So shout out to them. I definitely hope they have a beautiful long life together. Both of them met in college, so they're both highly educated. They're just good for each other, you know what I'm saying? So God bless them. But one of the my sister in Christ, her father, actually fun fact with that as well, her stepfather was my daughter's doctor the first 3 years of her life. And I didn't even know that was her dad until my daughter was like, I think almost 1. So small world, y'all, you know what I'm saying? So it just goes to show that you got to treat people right, man. You got to treat people right, because you do not know who you're going to come across in life that may have to help you, you know what I'm saying? Or you may need help from. So, but anyways, so a part of the ceremony was that her stepfather had to come up there and give some tips on their marriage, and basically just giving them advice on how to stay married. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't say necessarily how to stay married, but I mean, but like, the tips to to make sure that both her and her husband actually on the same page, and they can make the marriage last. Because of course, in this day and age, we got feminism. We have the modern woman. We have guys that are feminine acting, right? So there's a lot of things that can prevent young folks from getting married and staying married, right? So he was giving these tips, and these tips really, they really, what's the word for it? They really inspired me. And a lot of these tips I've done myself, but like, just to hear it from him, gave perspective, and it really enforced what I've been knowing for a long time when it comes to my marriage, right? And I've been married for 20 years, so hopefully I've been doing something right? So these are the 4 things that he said to his daughter during the ceremony. So the first one was, he told them to keep God first, keep God in the center of their marriage. Now, I do understand that there may be some folks watching this video that may be atheists, and what's for you is for you, and what's not for you is what's not for you, right? So if you are an atheist and you don't believe in God or a higher power, then that particular tip may not be the optimal advice for you, right? I would suggest you at least explore it, but but if you're an atheist, you don't believe in a higher power, then so be it. I'm not going to discriminate against you because you're an atheist. But for the ones that do believe in a higher power and they do believe in God, he was saying that keeping God in the center of the marriage keeps you both centered. Because the thing is that a lot of times when it comes to marriage, in my personal opinion, you're not going to love your spouse or be in love with your spouse the whole time you're married, right? It's not going to be peaches and cream. I'm not saying you're going to fall in love with you. I'm not going to say you're going to fall out of love with your spouse. I'm saying that there may be some days where you really don't like your spouse, right? There may be some days where you really want to throw in the towel. But when you keep God in the center, and you become a praying couple, and you become a couple that, they really reverence God, and and put God over everything, that marriage is going to last. I'm just telling you, you know what I'm saying? Some kind of way, if your marriage don't last, Lord forbid, it's because you let the enemy get in between y'all, and y'all push God out, right? So keeping God centered is like one of the biggest things that I took away from that. And I hope and pray that my sister in Christ and her new husband take heed to it. And I'm pretty sure they will, right? The second one he said was keep the seven number theory. The seven number theory. So where he was explaining, the way he explained that was that every seventh day, so at least once a week, you and your spouse should go out, right? Just you and her, or you and him. No kids, no family members or nothing. Just you and your spouse going out, either having dinner, going to a movie or something, right? Every seventh week, you actually do an overnighter. So every seventh week, you actually plan a time where you're actually going to be with your spouse overnight somewhere. You go out, you do whatever, you come out to a hotel room and you stay overnight, and maybe you go back the next one, I'm not sure. But you plan a weekend, or at least 2 days where you actually go out, you do what you do, you have some fun, enjoy each other, and you stay overnight somewhere, and then you come back the next day. If you decide to do, you may stay for a couple of days, who knows, right? It's all up to you, to your decision. And I definitely have practiced the every at least once a week going out with my spouse, but I never pushed out the one where you have 7 days where you actually, the 7th day you take your spouse out. Every 7th week you do an overnighter, and then every 7th month you go on vacation somewhere. So I definitely think that that's one of the aspects of marriage. I think this definitely need to be enforced a lot more, because spending time with your spouse definitely strengthens the relationship, and it prevents a lot of resentment over time, right? Being able to be around your spouse for a long period of time. Another point he gave was that to be your spouse's best friend. So basically what he was saying from that aspect was that regardless of how much you dislike your spouse at the time of maybe y'all get into some type of argument, some type of fight, maybe you have some type of disagreement, maybe you have some type of you don't see eye to eye on something. At the end of the day, you're still gonna be your wife's or your spouse or your husband's best friend. So regardless of what you feel at the time, right? You may not want to be a wife anymore. You may not want to be a husband anymore. But always make sure that you still be that person's best friend. And what he's saying was, y'all being best friends keeps the marriage also intact, because even though you may have disagreements and you may have also falling out as far as being spouses, hopefully you don't, but let's say for whatever reason you do, at the very least you're still gonna be best friends. And even when you feel like you're gonna have a falling out with your spouse, the best friend aspect will reel you guys back into reality, and you both can understand that even though we had a serious fight, even though we had a serious argument, a serious disagreement, because we're best friends, we're gonna keep this going. We're still gonna work this out, right? And the last one, number 4, is he said communication is key to keeping your marriage intact. And I'm pretty sure that everybody knows this, that's been married. There's so many interpretations that can happen between spouses when it comes to the husband trying to explain something, the wife trying to explain something, and it gets convoluted. You're not understanding what your spouse is saying because you're in your feelings about something, and then vice versa. And whatever you're trying to convey to your spouse comes out the wrong way. And communication is that might be the number 1 almost. So you got to communicate with God, and you got to communicate with each other. And the enemy is the author of confusion. So if he can confuse y'all and trick y'all into not listening to each other, then he got y'all, right? He's going to put y'all in a situation where you guys are not going to be feeling each other. You guys are not going to be able to communicate properly. And it brings your marriage on the road to failure, because communication is huge. So those are the things that he told his stepdaughter yesterday during this African wedding ceremony. And from what I've been told, he's raised now the wife that he has now, you know, that's my sister in Christ's mom. He's been married to this woman since her three daughters were little children. Like I think his youngest daughter, the one that got married yesterday, I think she was maybe 4 when they got together. So, and the other two were older, right? So we're talking a guy that came in and married a woman that had 3 daughters off rip, and he had a daughter himself from a previous relationship, right? And from what my sister in Christ told me, like literally that's her dad. Like basically like he was like the most phenomenal dad that she could ever have. Like she didn't want for anything. He was always there for her. Like he's been just phenomenal, right? Just phenomenal. And for him to be that close to his daughters and being a doctor, and you know doctors work a lot of hours, you know what I'm saying? Doctors a lot of times are not even home. And for her to hear, for me to hear her say that, with him being a doctor and doctors are hardly even home, like that speaks volumes to his character. It really does. And the 4 tips he gave his stepdaughter, his daughter, I would say his daughter, like it's legally it's his stepdaughter, right? But I mean, but like basically that's his daughter, right? Those 4 things he told his daughter really was some things that hit home. And I hope that it hits home to you guys, the ones that are watching this video that's married right now. If you're married right now and you feel like that your marriage is on the brink of divorce, practice those 4 things and see if those things can help your marriage out, right? Because from what I found is putting in work with your marriage is what keeps the marriage going, and not putting in work is going to have the marriage fail. Marriage is a job. It really is, right? You can't just marry somebody and just think that because you got the ring and you got the certificate that that's it, then you know y'all's going to sit around and just do nothing, right? It just doesn't work like that. Human nature is not like that. You have to put in the work. And I think if you follow those 4 tips, the work is going to reveal itself, and you're going to stay married. And this is also provided you're going to stay married to your spouse. Hopefully you do, because I believe marriage is forever. I don't believe in divorce unless it's under extreme circumstances. I don't believe in divorce, right? Because in my opinion, my thing is that you made a vow to God, right? You made a promise to God. So we need to honor that promise we made to God to be with our spouse through sickness and in health, as long as we both live, right? So that's my little soapbox thing when it comes to tips on keeping your marriage intact. I hope you take heed to it. And for everybody that's listening to this video, I pray that you have a long-lasting marriage, and I pray that if you're on the brink of divorce, that God brings you guys back together. All right. So you want me to discuss a topic or subject you think is beneficial to the channel? Email me at findingfitnessfolk@gmail.com. My email is just below. This is Ace OG signing out. I'm gone.